Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Bali. We are in Bali. This is our second day here. It's been really fun exploring all the streets. We're staying in Canggu. It's such a good mix of boutique cafes and really nice shops. However, it's still also got a real local, honest feel of what Bali's like. It feels like that nice mix of touristy, but also with a real local feel to it as well. We're really enjoying our time here, but this video is all about tips and tricks for traveling with a baby on a plane. So also, if you're new here to my channel, hello, my name is Laura. This is Koa, my 7-month-old son. And this channel is all about my journey through motherhood, sharing my tips, my struggles, my thoughts, my revelations, and my relationship with God. All right, so let's dive straight in. So traveling from Sydney to Bali is a 5.5-hour flight. We actually took a 1-hour flight beforehand, traveling from Ballina to Sydney, which is where my family were. We live in Lennox Head. We traveled 1 hour down south to Sydney to where my family was, and that was our first flight ever with Koa. And let me just say, we learned some things on that 1-hour flight, which we implemented for this 5.5-hour flight. I was so worried about it because our 1-hour flight did not go well. It was stressful. I think everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Our flight was delayed by 2 hours. We actually got on the plane and then we got taken off the plane and put back on the plane. Yeah, there were so many things that went wrong, but it was good because it prepared us for this flight. So I have 10 tips that I am sure will help you if you are traveling with a bubba on a flight. Let's dive straight into the tips. All right, so tip number 1 is get yourself an aisle seat. If possible, pay the extra, $20 to pick an aisle seat. And even better, try and pick the seats that have that big space in front of you, like they've got that extra leg room. Make sure you're comfy, and particularly get an aisle seat just so you have the freedom and flexibility to stand up as much as you need. I kept Koa in a carrier and I needed to constantly stand to bounce, pay the extra money to buy a comfy seat. Tip number 2 is, I know it's tempting to use screens. Koa is a screen-free baby. We turned off all of our screens, and I know it's sort of, I think, tempting to use screens for kids because it can provide them with 5 minutes of entertainment. But in the long run, I feel like after they get bored, they're more aggressive, more irritable, more frustrated, and they're more stimulated. They struggle to go to sleep if they've just been sort of woken up by the screen. So as soon as we arrived, we turned off all of our screens in front of us. Tip number 3 is bring their favorite toys and new toys. And when I mean toys, that's sort of in brackets because Koa's favorite toys and things he plays with is like, a ribbon, hair clip. So bring some things that will entertain them. Bring them one at a time. Don't just give them all the toys at once. Kids don't really need, I think, traditional toys, but hey, if your kids love them, bring the ones that you know they'll be entertained by. Tip number 4 is a really important one. It's hold off feeding your baby, whether you're breastfeeding or bottle or food or whatever. Hold off till feeding them until you're taking off on your flight, because as you know, your ears adjust to the air and the pressure, and that can really hurt baby's ear if they're not swallowing and not equalizing that air pressure. So that's what happened on our first flight. I fed him too early so that by the time we really took off, he wasn't hungry anymore, and then he was just crying because his ears were hurting and I needed him to swallow, but he didn't know that. So hold off till flying up until you're really taking off, you're really off in the air, and you yourself can start feel that pressure build up, then feed them. He did not cry, he was not grizzly, he was totally fine throughout the whole flight. It's amazing. Tip number 5, put a hat on them. Because there is so much lights, there's so many buttons and noises and other people's screens, there's so much stimulation going on, it can just be overwhelming. Like, it's overwhelming for me. And what we did was we put like a little bucket hat on his head, especially when he was ready to sleep, just to be like a little shield around him, almost like a horse with blinders. And it meant that he was able just to calm down, get ready for sleep, and not be so overstimulated by everything that was around him. Tip number 6, is so important. Like, this is my most important tip, I think, is to bring a carrier. I could not have done this flight without having him pretty much strapped to me the whole flight. When you arrive, they give you a special belt that goes around you that then goes around them. What we ended up doing was I fed him during the takeoff. We then played for a little bit with some toys until he got tired. I put him in the carrier, bounced him around at the back for about 20 minutes or so. He fell asleep, and then I was able to sit back down in my seat with him on the carrier. He was napping. I was able to nap, which was amazing. And just every maybe half an hour to hour, he'd sort of stir, and I'd stand back up, sort of bounce him a little bit and sit back down. That's why the aisle seat is so important. And just another little bonus tip is download some music you really like listening to, or a podcast, something like that. So when you're bouncing them around at the back of the airplane, it's not so boring as well. Tip number 7 is do not stress, do not worry about your baby potentially screaming or crying or whatever it is. I was really filled with so much worry and anxiety. I didn't want to disturb anyone or disrupt people, but you have to really find peace through it all, because babies really sense from you whether to be scared or worried or frightened. They really look to you to gauge the environment. So it's such a new place, like the plane, it's a new place for them. It's overstimulating, and as much as you can, stay calm, be smiling to them, and let them know that everything is okay, because if they can see that you're okay, they'll be okay. But also, if for whatever reason your baby is a bit grizzly, also don't worry. There was a family just a row in front of us that had a daughter similar age to Koa. She was grizzly. She was upset the majority of the flight and was crying. The dad was so chill. He was just patting his daughter. He wasn't fussed. He wasn't fazed, because actually everyone else didn't really care. Everyone else is listening to music. They're watching movies. For majority of the time, I don't think anyone even noticed that the girl was crying. I think for the most part, people are sort of preoccupied with themselves and whatever they're doing. So don't worry too much. Number 8, do what's best for your baby, not what's best for other people. So there was a point where I was bouncing Koa back and forth at the back of the plane. He was so close to falling asleep, and I had a hostess come up to me, and she said, look, you have been at the back of the plane and bouncing around for a while now. It's becoming like a hazard. If the plane got turbulent, it'd be quite unsafe. So you really need to sit down now. We're going to ask you to sit down. At the end of the day, she's just doing her job. I get that. But I was so frustrated, because I was like, he is so close to falling asleep. I know if I sit down now, he's not going to fall asleep. He needs to be sort of standing and rocking. So I just very politely said to her, look, my son is almost about to fall asleep. I promise I will sit down as soon as he falls asleep, but I will not sit down right now because he needs to fall asleep. Do what's best for your baby, not necessarily out of politeness. Do what's best for other people or other staff or whatever that might look like for you. As long as you're not breaking rules or laws or whatever that is. Yeah, look after you and your baby first. Number 9, change your baby on the seat with you. Don't go to the change table in the bathroom. They're small, they're really awkward. It's really difficult to sort of maneuver around, and yeah, they can be dirty. So we just changed on my lap. Super easy, but that's us. We actually change him wherever. I think I've changed him in a change room once before. It's so quick and easy if you just do it on your lap. Save yourself the hassle of getting up and moving around. Just change on your lap. All right, so tip number 10 is have a baby bag packed with everything you need. So spare nappies, spare clothes, a blanket, socks, because it can get pretty chilly on the flight. The toys, have a baby bag packed for them, and keep that just under your seat. Don't put it in the overhead locker, because you just never know where you might need something, and just getting out, opening up things, have everything sort of with you. It just makes the flight super easy. All right, so that is everything that I wrote down from my list of how to travel well with a baba on a plane, because the flight honestly could not have gone any better. He literally stayed asleep for the whole flight and then woke up as we were descending, and I was able to then feed him as we descended for his ears, and Yeah, it was amazing. He did not cry, did not scream, grizzles, nothing. He was amazing. All right, so thank you so much for watching. And so please say hello in the comments. I love reading and replying to all of them. Stay tuned for my next videos because now we're in Bali. I'm going to be doing some fun family holiday vlogs. So I think that's it from Koa and I. We say goodbye and we'll see you in the next video. Mwah!